So I was on Blue Sky earlier, and Bonnie, aka Bonbon, said, "I'll be honest, I much prefer my furry name compared to my IRL name. Hearing people say my IRL name feels weirdly wrong. Not saying that I have a weird first name, but it feels off." And I just wanted to discuss that because I actually find that to be a very interesting, widespread phenomenon in the furry fandom, and I think it's like very, very explainable. So when we get into the furry fandom, it's all about choosing how we present ourselves. We come up with this character and the name assigned to it, and we get to curate what version of our personality people encounter, and we're doing this while also potentially being openly queer while not being such in normal life. Not only are many people in the furry fandom in the closet, or they're pre-transition and so on, a lot of people, even if they are out of the closet, aren't necessarily always open in their daily life in the way that they might be with their friends and family, or the people that are closest to themselves, the people that are that get them. It's a very normal queer experience to always kind of feel on guard in your daily life and have to deal with the idea that the people around you just kind of don't get to have the full version of you because you don't know if it's safe to bring it up, either due to potential bodily harm or damage to your reputation, or just social friction that comes up with acknowledging who you are in any real way. We constantly choose to dampen ourselves and dim ourselves and desaturate ourselves in daily life in order to just get through shit. And that's a sort of like mental fatigue that the average person that isn't dealing with the type of shit we deal with just doesn't even understand. It's an invisible quirk to them. That's frankly the entire premise of when people talk about like privilege and so on, is like when there's people who just don't have to deal with these additional problems in their daily life than we do. So you have a government name, the thing that you were assigned at birth. Your parents named you, but then like your parents might have not made the most safe environment for you growing up, or the most supportive environment growing up. You might have had to deal with the question of whether or not to be open with them about who you were for years or decades, or maybe you still aren't open with your own parents. And even if you are, there might be this weird friction, this lack of understanding, this filtering, where you don't show your full self to these people that raised you because they're not going to get it, or they're going to judge you for certain things, or you just kind of have this constant apprehension about being fully who you are. Your real name is used by your boss and your landlord, people who have crazy amounts of power over your entire life and have profit-motivated reasons to potentially completely upend your entire life and irreversibly change the direction that you're going in general. There's a lot of stresses assigned to your real daily normal name, the one that you actually officially have. And there's a lot of baggage there. It's assigned with a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and a lot of bad experiences. Then you enter the furry fandom, you make a cartoon dog and you call yourself Sparkles the Hyena or something, and then you just go, "That's me." And you might use that name alongside art of you getting that twink obliterated and so on, or getting a bunch of commissions, or meeting with people and participating in dance competitions and going to room parties and just having a good time in a lot of low stress environments where you leave your home in many cases. If you go to furry conventions, enter a space where people refer to you by that name, and many of those people don't even know your original name, and you're often more authentically yourself because you're surrounded by queer people in a queer space, and there's just so much less filter. You get to be more free in a lot of cases, even though you're doing an expensive vacation, and you're navigating social media, or you're doing a bunch of other things that come with their own outside stresses. When it comes to your personality, your presentation, your actual personal self existing and taking up space, there's actually way less stress surrounding that part of you in many cases. In many cases, you're in these places and you feel free. I described this in like the first B-Stars video I discussed, where I talked about like you feel the weight lift off of you that you kind of forgot was there in the first place. You got so numb to the daily drudgery of normal life and always dampening yourself and always quieting yourself, that when you go into a place full of people like you and you get to just be yourself and not constantly be on edge about if you're going to be observed being weird, or if you're going to step out of line, or if you're going to do something or like reveal something about yourself that would follow you in your daily life. Instead, you're like in this almost like a different world, essentially, on these kinds of vacations and stuff at furry conventions. You're surrounded by people that use that name, and so it conditions you to have a positive association with that name. It's super normal, I think, for furries to enjoy being called, even by their regular friends outside of the furry fandom eventually, by their furry name, because that's like a thing they associate with comfort and security and safety and openness and even intimacy and sincerity and genuine emotion, as opposed to capitalism and shame and Christofascism and pain and hiding. Like, that's a reason why people have two names. I think that one of the ultimate reasons you can really get how much that makes sense is that, like, I know multiple queer people who moved away from home and they changed their name. So, like, they have a dead name, even though they're not trans or anything, because they chose, once they moved places and got away from their family and got away from their background and were going into embracing their new queer life, even if they weren't cutting ties and not hiding, they're not in the witness protection program or anything, they just moved on to their new life and they legally changed their name, and you will call them by their new name, and they will never tell you their old name, and their own family has to use their new name, or they'll cut ties and so on. Like, that is a significant transition that happens for people in their life, is that there's so much baggage that can be assigned to your name, and to some extent, I think a lot of queer people see their real name, like the one that's on their driver's license, at least for now, as being a version of themselves that they've moved on from. It's like the fucking dead snake skin on your floor, and you've moved on and grown into a whole new different type of person, and that old version of you is just over there. It's a reminder. You forget it's there sometimes. It comes up when you do, like, your taxes and stuff. And it's just like this husk that you moved on from. This also comes up because, like, people often ask me, like, what should they call me if they see me at conventions and so on. And it's like, I actually kind of don't care. Like, I am Keith and I am Marrow. And I know it's a really unhelpful answer, because when people ask that question, they want a helpful answer. They want direction. And then for that answer, just call me Marrow, because it does mean you're embracing where I am and what I am and so on. And it fits the venue in which we're meeting. So it completely makes sense. But I'm also not weirded out by people calling me Keith, because I have so much content with that name attached to it that people disproportionately know me from that. And on some level, it's even helpful that I'm like, okay, people I personally know are more likely to call me Marrow, and people that are recognizing me are more likely to call me Keith. And that helps me. That does help the beginning of the conversation, where I can tell why it's happening a little bit. But either one is fine. But you can call me Marrow or whatever. It's blah 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 blah. I don't necessarily have that exact baggage in the same way, but I 100% see where it comes from, and I've observed this pattern over and over again, and it's super interesting. I thought that was interesting to unpack. And I had my own arc, in a way, my own chrysalis moment and so on, because, like, I was looking back on how Marrow originally came to be, and back then I was in the closet and I was talking with Enro the Mutt about designing my fursona for my upcoming coming out and everything, after having been adjacent to the furry fandom, like in it but not engaging with it. Like, I had been observing the furry fandom and I've had accounts, but I didn't have a fursona and I wasn't speaking really in it and interacting in the right proper way until 2022 when I came out. So I was, like, around the furry fandom for like 15 years before that, but only in the, like, last 4 or 5 years have I actually been properly having a fursona and everything. But when I designed Marrow, he was, like, grumpy and off-putting. Like, I had this headcanon idea that he's, like, sort of like an awkward goofball and stuff when you get to know him, but from the outside he has this, like, sort of hostile exterior. He seems like he's unapproachable and so on. A bit to, like, I had that one, what's his name? Purple Cider, right? That guy? He's got this funny twink character, and then, like, this really short, stout, wide Wolverine character, and he's, like, their whole dynamic is that this one character is, like, really open about their emotions and friendly, and this other character is endearing, but he's, like, really grumpy and bristly and so on. You have to, like, get past that exterior to see that he actually, like, does care and does have, like, regular emotions and stuff, but they're just in this big exterior of mess. Like, I kind of had a version of that for Marrow, where he was off-putting essentially. And it was in part because I saw him as like a true Sona. Like he was supposed to be based on me very more directly. He wasn't supposed to be like a character and that it represents me separately. It was supposed to be like my own self-perception and so on, which is really telling and a thing to unpack. Like I gave him a bit of a belly based on actual like photo reference that I gave and so on. And at the time I had this idea that I needed to lose weight. So if Marrow's ever going to be like fit and jacked and so on, it's going to be because I earned it, and otherwise he's going to look like me in real life and so on. And my entire sense of body has changed since then, because like the furry fandom enjoys a belly and so on, and people, and like I've had relationships and so on, and I've been appreciated in ways that I never was before. Like I was afraid to take off my shirt to get in a pool at gatherings with like 30 plus people that are all going in the pool. Like I did not like being seen, and now I do not really have those kinds of hangups at all. And so it's like, yes, I'm going to the gym and I would like to get like bulkier in a variety of ways, but also like I'm pretty much fine with how things are right now. And then as far as my personality goes, like I thought that I was kind of unlikable. I thought that from a variety of like situations where people like would check in on me and think that I was grumpy, or think that I was mad, or think that I was like sick even, or the number of apologies I got from like customer service workers at like, just from when I was waiting in line in a place like that, where I was like, that didn't seem like a normal apology. Was I making a face? Like I thought that I was constantly making like facial expressions that seemed to like how I got a resting face that made me seem like I was unhappy or something. Like I had this impression, partly because of my own social anxieties and so on, that like I just was a person who was difficult to approach and difficult to like at first, and I wasn't spending a lot of time around people, and I was spending time around some people that did just actively not like me, that I was just stuck around. But now I've been surrounded by friends, and I've been immersed in this very different environment where I get to just be open and myself, and I get to have a great time with people, and I've had some very real conversations with people, and also some very real experiences with some people, and it's completely shifted my perspective from where I was back in 2022. I have changed as a person pretty significantly, I think, in only these handful of years since my coming out. And so in that way, I look back at that old stuff, and I'm like, I might get more grumpy Marrow sometime, because it was admittedly a hot vibe, but aside from that, that entire persona is like alien to me. Like there's a part where I thought that was the authentic version of the character, and when people drew me smiling and stuff, that felt inauthentic. It felt, if anything, just like, oh, that's the polite way to draw fan art, is to draw a character just kind of generally vibing, because you don't want to intrude or assume anything, and you have like a not super deep understanding of that person, their character. So the default fan art is like a headshot of a smiling persona. But over time, I was like, that kind of is me though. Yeah. Like it felt like that was out of character, and the original art was in character. But nowadays, I look back at the old art of Grumpy Marrow, and I'm like, no. That's just not my vibe, and it's not really where I've been for a while in there. That would be playing a character. That would be putting on a face now, because I'm just in a happier, healthier place from the furry fandom. Like that's what I owe the space, and that's what I try to convey onto other people. And yeah, if you were starting in a darker place than me, and you ended up in a lighter place, I 100% get why, especially, you would not really have much fondness for the name that your parents knew you by, and would love being called Coda. It's always Coda. There's so many Codas. No shaming, it's just, there's a lot of Codas. It's like how when I was in geology, there was like 4 Chris's, out of 30 people, there was 4 Chris's. How did that happen? So many Chris's. Anyway, this is a whole ramble I did off the cuff after seeing that Blue Sky post and responding to it, and that was cool. That's a really good artist that you could only look at if you're an adult, but he's really good. Anyway, I'm going to be at Megaplex next week in Florida, again, the place that I set my visual novel in. None of the events in the visual novel happened in Florida or otherwise. That is not an autobiographical visual novel, even if a couple elements match up, like me getting stranded in Tampa. Hopefully I don't get stranded in Tampa again. Hopefully someone can invite me into the pool area, because I once again I'm not in Maine, and I didn't get to see the pool last time because you didn't only let people in from the main hotel and whatnot. But yeah, feel free to walk up to me and say hi if you see me in public. I'm not going to have a public get-together place. I'm not gonna have like a gathering. What do you call it? I'm not gonna like a meetup. I'm not gonna have my own meetup or anything like that, because I never do, because that sounds terrifying. There's people that are like that kind of extrovert. I'm kind of extroverted. I found out, like, I thought I was an introvert, and I've mostly found that I'm like a socially anxious extrovert, and that I do not have a like social battery that can be depleted. I can just hang out with people literally all the time. But it's like, it's very different between like people I know versus complete strangers and so on. I'm not good at parties. I'm not good at being swarmed by people I don't know all at once. So I don't know if I'll ever host a thing where people can find me all in one room at the same time at a set place, because I don't want to get swarmed like that. But if you see me as a random encounter, just say hi. You can just say hi and you can talk to me for a bit. And that's all fine. I'm perfectly fine with being approached. I'm at an event for being social. And that's the thing that I try to get in my own head, because I'm afraid to approach people. So people who approach me are braver than me, because I've almost never approached any of the people that I've recognized that I would like to get to know, because that's terrifying to me. So like, I get it. But you can absolutely just come talk to me. Just don't like follow me around. That's just like, that's the main social cue, is that like you have a little encounter and you chat for a while and so on, but then like when I'm leaving to go get dinner with my friends, you don't try to like join. I had that happen like a couple of times where people like try to join my dinner with my friends, and I'm like, okay, no, that's a social boundary. Like, this is people I know, and this is you're saying that you like my stuff, which is cool, and we can chat about stuff. You can ask a question and stuff, but those are two separate categories. Some people go from one to the other, but not right then and there. Definitely not. Anyway, see you guys next time. Also, oh my god, that last video did so well. It scared the shit out of me. Like, I know that's a goal as a YouTuber, is to get big view and whatnot, but when you get 600 or 700 comments on something, makes me real self-conscious about whether I'm using this platform correctly. So I'm being very careful about my topics and trying to be thoughtful in this space as much as I can, because I do not want, I genuinely do appreciate you guys showing up and interacting and all this positivity and so on. I don't want to betray that or exploit that or anything. I just want to give back to the space what it has given to me as best as I can. And there is a view motive, there is a money motive. Like, I am a YouTuber before this and during this, and this video's performances and topics that do well do get in my brain and incentivize my behavior, but I'm trying to be mindful of that while also doing it all responsibly and positively, and have a point and not just be view farming and stuff like that. So we'll see how this weird experiment goes. This channel has a mind of its own right now. I'll see you next time.